What if I told you Conor McGregor actually predicted everything that's happening to Khabib right now, years before it happened? Not just his fall from fame, but his silence, his frustration with the UFC, and even his loss of control over his own fighters. Yeah, the same Conor everyone thought was trash-talking back in 2018 might have seen the future clearer than anyone else. Let's go back, not to the octagon, not to the chaos after UFC 229, but to the moment Conor McGregor first set eyes on Khabib Nurmagomedov and realized exactly what was coming. The calm before the storm. In 2015, Khabib was already a monster in the making, undefeated, untouchable, and built like a machine programmed to wrestle anyone into the mat. Meanwhile, Conor McGregor was climbing fast, charismatic, loud, unstoppable, and carrying an entire country on his back. Their worlds were on a collision course. But here's the thing: before they ever fought, Conor said something that now sounds prophetic. When reporters asked him about Khabib, he said, "You can't fight forever. When the fame fades and the lights go out, let's see who you really are." Back then, everyone brushed it off as another McGregor quote. But today, it feels like a warning. The build-up nobody could stop. By 2016, Khabib was tired of waiting for his title shot. The UFC wasn't promoting him like Conor: no suits, no press tours, no posters, just a quiet man from Dagestan, ready to fight. And that's when resentment started to build. Khabib saw Conor as the showman getting everything he didn't earn. Conor saw Khabib as the silent assassin pretending he was above the game, but secretly craving that same spotlight. Then came the famous line, "You're just another Dagestani who can't handle money or fame." It sounded disrespectful, but hidden inside that insult was a prediction that fame would change Khabib more than any fight ever could. The fight that shook the world. October 6, 2018, UFC 229. The most anticipated fight in MMA history. The trash talk, the bus attack, the press conferences all leading to this one night. Khabib mauled Conor, made him tap, and silenced an entire arena. For many fans, that was the end of the story. Khabib won, Conor lost, case closed. But if you look closer, that fight wasn't the end. It was the beginning of everything Conor warned about. The king without a crown. After the win, Khabib became a global superstar. Brands, endorsements, documentaries, he was everywhere. But with fame came responsibility. The more eyes on him, the more people wanted something. And then, cracks started to show. His relationship with the UFC soured. Dana White pushed him to return, but Khabib said no. He wanted to retire on top, no losses, no rematches. But the sport didn't stop moving. New champions rose, new stars took over. And for the first time, Khabib wasn't the story anymore. Conor's words echoed louder than ever. "When the lights go out, let's see who you really are." The shadow of retirement. Khabib's retirement in 2020 felt noble. He did it for his late father. But behind the respect and emotion, something else was brewing frustration. He tried to transition into coaching, managing, and building his own team. But the control he once had inside the cage didn't exist outside it. One of his closest fighters, Islam Makhachev, became champion. And while Khabib celebrated publicly, people inside the camp say he struggled privately because the spotlight wasn't his anymore. He started skipping events, keeping quiet on social media, even pulling back from coaching altogether. It's like the same man who once thrived on discipline suddenly didn't know where to direct his fire. McGregor's warning comes true. Here's the crazy part. During a 2016 interview, Conor literally said, Khabib's problem isn't fighting, it's what happens when fighting stops. You can't live out of control forever. The world doesn't tap out. Back then, people laughed. They thought Conor was just trying to sound smart. But fast forward to now, and that's exactly what's happening. Khabib built his entire identity on dominance, on control, on never losing. But real life? It's not a fight you can win by grappling. And when he lost his father, his coach, his guide, it broke something deeper than any opponent could. Khabib became quieter, almost haunted by his own legacy. He walked away from MMA completely, saying he didn't want to be involved anymore. The man who never lost didn't want to play the game at all. If this story's already blowing your mind hit like right now, and if you want more untold stories about the people who shaped MMA history, subscribe because the next one might just change how you see the sport forever. The twist nobody expected. But here's where the story flips. While Khabib pulled back, Conor, the man who was supposed to be finished, kept coming back. Broken legs, legal issues, constant lossy, yet somehow he never disappeared. It's almost poetic the man who lost the fight became the one still fighting. And the man who won disappeared into silence. That's the irony Conor warned about. Fame doesn't care who wins inside the cage. It only cares who stays in the story. The power of the persona. Conor once said, "This is not just fighting, this is show business." And that's what Khabib never accepted. He wanted the sport without the spotlight, the purity without the politics. But you can't separate them, not in modern MMA. Look at today's landscape. Fighters like Sean O'Malley, Paddy Pimblett, and even Jake Paul, they learned from Conor. They talk, they sell, they perform. Meanwhile, Khabib's quiet legacy risks fading with each passing year because silence doesn't trend. And maybe that's the saddest part, not that he ignored Conor's words, but that he never understood them. The circle completes. Now, Khabib's team guys like Islam, Usman, and Umar are carrying the Dagestani torch. But even they've started doing what Khabib refused to, playing the game. Promotions, interviews, even trash talk. They've realized that in 2025, fighting is only half the battle. The rest is marketing, storytelling, and presence. And deep down, you have to wonder, does Khabib ever think back to that rivalry? To those moments when Conor said things that cut too deep to be dismissed as insults? Because maybe, just maybe, those words were never about disrespect. Maybe they were a challenge to evolve. Conor versus Khabib, the legacy battle. In the record books, Khabib dominates. 29-0. Never beaten. But in the headlines, in the culture, in the story of MMA, Conor still lives rent-free. That's what makes their rivalry timeless. One man proved he was the best fighter. The other proved he was the biggest icon. And in the end, both were right. But when you zoom out, one thing stands out crystal clear. Conor's prediction wasn't just a taunt. It was a mirror showing Khabib exactly what happens when you stop fighting not just opponents, but relevance itself, the final reflection. Today, Khabib lives quietly in Dagestan, surrounded by family, faith, and peace. He doesn't crave attention, doesn't chase fame, and maybe that's his true victory. But to the millions still watching, there's an undeniable feeling that something was left unsaid. A rivalry that ended with no rematch. A fighter who left before the world was ready to let him go. And Conor? He's still loud, still reckless, still chasing chaos, but somehow still part of every conversation. Maybe that's what he meant all along. Winning isn't about the record. It's about staying unforgettable. Conor warned him 7 years ago, and Khabib ignored it. Now, We're watching that prophecy unfold in real time. If you found this story as wild as it sounds, like this video, drop a comment with your take on who truly won the legacy war, and subscribe because we're just getting started uncovering the hidden truths behind the biggest names in combat sports.